Okay, hello and welcome to, not gonna lie, it's gonna be a bloody random podcast, hopefully with a bit of structure to it, which you'll find out about in a minute. But yes, hello and welcome, Lionheart here with Sage, and welcome to our podcast. And I'll let Sage briefly go over what we hope to achieve and what we're doing here.
Hi guys. Basically, I've wanted to get more involved with the Total War community for a while now. So I had a chat with Lionheart, and we had an idea to basically just create a podcast series. And hopefully this podcast series will progress. I mean, at the moment it's just me and Lionheart talking about different aspects of the Total War games, but hopefully in the future we can bring more people into the conversations, perhaps people that know more about history, know more about different aspects of the game, and hopefully we can build up a series of podcasts with different people and, just make it really informative and interesting. That's about it really, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think.
that's about it. It's just the randomness of the first one. Hopefully you've got the structure there, you know what to expect. And we'll get on with just a couple of topics to start with. I think Sage has got a few to start us off with.
Yes, indeed. So I thought of discussing pretty much the most discussed topic of any that anyone ever asked me: where should Total War go from Shogun 2? I get a lot of people saying World War 1, but I'm not convinced.
Yeah, so
I don't know what you feel about that.
yeah, World War One. If I'm honest, there is a game that does kind of a really good RTS World War One or World War Two series, which is for me Company of Heroes.
Yeah.
And as much as I love the Total War series, and I would love to see Creative Assembly try and tackle World War One, World War Two, but I think that if they did, we would get pretty much Company of Heroes 2. If they did, it would lose what Total War is. I mean, I'd love to see the integrate. They've obviously gone to naval battles from land battles in the progression to Empire, and I would love to see the implementation of air battles somehow in some mad, crazy mix between how that would link to land battles as well. But I just can't see that happening, and it's still being Total War at the end of the day.
No, I totally agree. I've had pretty much everyone I speak to about this. Some are saying Rome 2, which I can kind of relate to because I never was around with Rome, and it's an awesome game to play, even with the graphic drag down that I came from Empire to Rome. But World War 1 I can't see happening, and I really can't see. The Company of Heroes has been a huge hit. I mean, it's an awesome game. You've also got Men of Honor or something?
Men of War, isn't it?
Men of War, yeah, that's it. I mean, with those two around, I don't see how Creative Assembly can really. I mean, they're playing the safe game here. They're playing repeats of the games that they've already done.
Yeah.
So they know people like that, so they go for Shogun 2, and I'm pretty convinced they go for Rome 2.
I mean,
they wouldn't
they
venture into it.
Yeah, I think, if I'm honest, I would put my solid bet on Rome 2. It's quite interesting because I've recently actually changed my mind. I would have previously said it's got to be Rome 2 next, but I'm starting to lean that maybe before they go into Rome 2, they'll do one last something different now that they've come back. I think it was just whether I was thinking they'd do 2 sequels in a row without trying something maybe different that would implement some features which they'd have more refined for Rome, unless there's some underlying features in Shogun 2 which they're going to sort of extrapolate and put into Rome 2. But I think at some point the next major title that everyone's going to get worked up about has got to be Rome 2. I mean, I think pretty much since they moved on to Medieval 2, people have been crying out for Rome 2.
Yeah.
And I mean, the same thing, people almost in a way didn't say, oh, do we really need a Medieval 2? Do we really need a Shogun 2? Do we really need a Rome 2? But all of them, I've got to admit, the upgrade from Medieval to Medieval 2, superb. I mean, I think, for me, my favourite mod of all time is actually on Medieval 2, which is the Third Age mod. Some of my viewers will probably know that I'm a bit of a Lord of the Rings fan. But
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great mod, but and again, I think I started off straight at the beginning. Shogun was my first Total War game, the first one of the series, and now sort of 10 years later playing Shogun 2, it's awesome to see the progression.
Yeah, the progression is pretty awesome. I started out in Empire really, but I did have Shogun as a kid, and I was like, this was an awesome game, and I was going through it on the campaign map and stuff, and not really knowing what I was doing. But I did come in at Empire. I did have Medieval, and I sucked at it so badly, just getting in debt all the time, and
Mm.
oh, it was horrible, horrible.
I got to admit, until Empire came along, I was pretty much single player the whole way. I did venture into the chaos that was GameSpy Arcade to try and get online a couple of times.
GameSpy.
Those were the days when, I mean, people moan about Steam's connection being bad. Come on, come off it. You've seen nothing until you've been on GameSpy Arcade and tried for maybe 2.5 hours and this was possibly when you only had dial-up and you were only allowed on the computer with internet for half an hour. So you had to make that battle count, and everyone was lagging like crap, and graphics were set all onto low. You're on 800 by 600 resolution. It looked terrible.
I know.
You just loved the single player experience. You thought, oh, this surely multiplayer. This is going to be amazing. I can play with all my friends and kill people with swords and archers, and it just didn't work because internet was terrible.
No, all back then it really didn't work. And GameSpy Arcade, I still don't know why companies use GameSpy Arcade. I mean,
No.
Prices 2 uses GameSpy Arcade. It's old. It's dated. Why are people still using that system?
But, I mean, I guess it's kind of finding a way to avoid full Steam integration these days. I mean, more and more titles they're coming with Steam.
Yeah.
I personally don't have an issue with Steam. But I was like a lot of people still are that are like, oh, I don't really like Steam. When I first had to get, I can't remember what the first game it was, but the first game I had to get that because it had Steam, or had to have Steam with. I was like, I'm not even sure if the game's worth it. I don't want Steam. It's terrible. It's absolutely horrible. I'd heard all this.
Yeah, there was lots of negative.
Yeah, and it's changed. I mean, yeah, from maybe I've been on Steam 3-4 years, and definitely vast improvements.
It used to be very, very laggy. From what I remember, back in the days when I used to play Counter-Strike Source, it was like you'd literally take up half of your resources trying to run your game with Steam. It was ridiculous. Since then, it's been absolutely awesome.
I think the main thing for me when coming across to Steam was that I was, when I started gaming all the way back to Shogun, I grew up with my friends list being on Xfire, and I was all over Xfire. That was where everyone went. I mean, on that, my stats for my main first game I ever properly played was Call of Duty 2, and I played that. I think Xfire sadly sort of states that I had no life for about 700 hours of my life.
That's the thing. Trust me.
Yeah.
I've got that 1,200 clocked up.
Okay, you win, sir. But yeah, I mean, it was that I got into maybe 2 or 3 years with Xfire, and that's all I'd known. That's what I knew worked. Straight away when I went on my computer to play games, Xfire loaded up, got that already. This Steam thing, it was like, oh, I don't really want to go on there, but in a way, actually, kind of draw parallels. For me, it's kind of like MySpace to Facebook. Everyone was on MySpace, then Facebook came along. People started going onto Facebook, and then they said, oh no, I don't use MySpace anymore, you're going to have to come onto Facebook. And then you just did, really.
Yeah, pretty much. MySpace just died because Facebook.
It has died a horrible death. I mean, I don't think I've even logged into my Xfire account for about 3 years. Which, I'm sorry, Xfire account. There. But, yeah, I think you have to go with the times. You have to... Not obviously the technology that's been lost with Xfire. I mean, obviously Steam's grown from that, and Xfire has tried clawing back recently with its own sort of Xfire store, but you just have to go with the times. As much as we miss the classic, no Steam, all on disc. I do like playing a game nowadays. Sometimes when I have to break out a disc, I tried to play actually the Third Age mod on Medieval 2 Total War, the Kingdoms expansion, and suddenly for a minute I thought the game wasn't working because nothing was happening, and I realised I hadn't put the disc in. So I was there for sort of maybe 5 minutes before I realised, oh wait, this game needs a disc. Crap, where are my discs?
It's pretty much like that now. There's no disc for anything anymore.
No. I mean, with Shogun 2, with Empire, Napoleon, and Shogun 2, all of their editions, I've bought discs because I like to have a case. I like the box artwork, especially with Empire and Napoleon. I bought the 2 sort of limited editions, and they came with nice box artwork and maps and things like that. But I like to have something physical for maybe my favourite games, but now if I see a sort of a deal on Steam, or if there's a game coming out and I want it and it's sort of worthwhile getting on Steam, or if I'm going to be perfectly honest, if I'm lazy and I can't be asked to wait a week for the game to be delivered and I'll play it right now, I sort of go, bugger it, I'll pay the extra £7 and get it on Steam right now.
Yeah, it's a fair thing to do. I mean, to be honest, I have 75 games on Steam now.
75
I
games. Wow, nice.
I just buy, like, they're so cheap. The offers are so good.
Mm.
Um,
Well, I mean,
there's been 2K games on offer for the last 3 days, and they're just
yeah.
really awesome deals.
Well,
Like, there's no reason not to.
yeah. I mean, at the moment, it's just looking on. It's the Grand Theft Auto series, and they're all on there for ridiculous prices. I mean,
I
just
know, I want it. I just can't spend that money.
yeah. And when they do their sort of the packs of games, like there's one of them is like 40 games for £50.
I know.
That's superb. Coming from when I had sort of when I was younger, and £30 for a brand new game was a lot of money, and that was back in the pocket money days.
Yeah, I
Um,
know.
and you'd sort of save for a month, or although there was always the cheat out, which was avoid dad, go to mum, and sort of say this game's a lot cheaper here than anywhere else. That always worked quite well, I must admit. Sorry, mum,
Yeah,
if you're listening. I really hope you're not actually. Be quite weird.
It would be quite weird if she was.
You've managed to turn on the computer. Well done, first of all. You've managed to turn the screen on. Well done. You've logged in. Very well done. You've turned on the internet. This is getting a bit weird. Are you sure you're still my mother? You've got onto this thing called YouTube, and you've found a video with your son in. Okay, that's weird.
Related to Shogun.
Oh yes.
I'm sure you'll look that up.
Oh yes, sure will do indeed. I'm sure. But I mean, actually, going back to the Steam deals, I think the best one I personally got was the Batman Arkham Asylum Game of the Year edition for £2.50 at Christmas.
Yeah, it was really insanely cheap.
I mean,
I it at full
yeah.
price. I'm really pissed off.
I mean, I saw people sort of saying, "Oh, it's really good. You should really go for it." And I was thinking, maybe if I see it in the bargain bin now and then, or on a deal. But for £2.50, I thought, actually, screw this. I might as well get it, even if I don't play it right away. £2.50 for a full game that's supposedly been quite highly rated, and I rather enjoyed it actually. Bargain. So in that respect, Steam. Well, in actually most respects, I can't fault Steam these days.
£2.50, you can't complain. I mean, I remember when they had on Halloween they had Team Fortress 2 for like £1.50 or something. It's like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
But it works because so many people buy it. They don't care. I mean, at the end of the day, they've got no overheads. They don't have to distribute anything.
Yeah.
It's all online. It's all digital. All they need is the servers, and that's it.
The server costs far cheaper than getting a manufacturer to print CDs, get it all copied, make sure they all work, manuals, boxes distributed. Digital, it is the way of the future. It's how it's going to be. I mean, there's some people. Recently, I was browsing across the Total War Centre forums, and someone's calling for or asking sort of Creative Assembly why would they ever make their next Total War game Steam optional, or would they ditch it altogether? And generally the consensus is that no, they're not going to drop it. It's just such an easy way to distribute their games, meet their target audience, and even increase their audience and the sales. It's just an easy way. I mean, the one argument on there that I did find quite funny, that he just couldn't understand why he thought that Steam was trying to rip people off. Because obviously on there, maybe Shogun 2 is still £30 at the moment, whereas say on Amazon or Play.com you can get it for £15, something like that.
Yeah, you can.
And that's just business. That is bringing into kind of the lazy side, the side of the gamer that can't wait for games like me. Obviously, actually, for that I probably would, because obviously £15 difference for me at the moment. Hard up uni student, can't afford anything.
Yeah,
I would go for the Play.com and get it delivered in a week. But it's that choice. Is the extra £15 for you gonna make it? Can you make a week without the game arriving, or can you afford the extra 15? Buy it right now, get it in within 2 hours installed, and you're going.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from. With someone that's got a steady income and can afford to purchase games at that price, they will do it. They will buy it digitally distributed, because at the moment I've got a very part-time job, and I will order things to save money. So I'll order things on Play and Amazon, etc. But I can see for someone working full-time how that would become an advantage, and I probably would just do it. To be honest, it's so much easier. It's just insane.
Yeah. Right. Well, so we'll move on to another topic, because I've spread through several there.
Yeah, we spread through loads of topics there.
Well, I think we did pretty well. This,
I think we did pretty well. Favourite Total War game?
I mean,
you'll be better at this than me, because I started in Empire.
If I'm honest, I'm probably going to go Napoleon Total War, and that is maybe for some people a shocking revelation. I've got to actually admit, hands up here, I've never fully completed a single Total War campaign until I completed my Portugal Peninsula campaign, which was put up on YouTube and uploaded. So you guys witnessed my first completion of a campaign on Total War ever. Um, not through lack of uh, getting beaten, I don't think, by the AI in the previous titles, but I think it's just I'd get so far and then I'd suddenly go, oh, I want to try that faction, or oh, look, all faction unlock mod, let's go play another 50 campaigns with all these other little factions because I can. And in some ways, I think maybe I should go back through every single one and start completing campaigns. But I think I spent more time just going through all the different factions, finding all the different weaknesses and strengths, and trying out just messing around really. Because I think for the early Total War games, that's what Total War was for me. It was just playing a game in which I could manipulate history and just try out whatever tactics I want, no repercussions. If my campaign wasn't going well enough, just do another one. But well, so in terms of I think Napoleon Total War, I really like the way they went with Empire, and I won't. If I'm honest, I must have been one of the lucky ones that didn't seem to have many issues at all with Empire on release. And despite that, maybe the one or two issues I did have, I thought, stuff that, this is a fantastic game. The scope, they've just exploded. It's always been a European map or something like that. Now we can go to America, we can go to India as well. We've got all these trade routes going on. And I thought the complexity of that was superb. But I think the reason why Napoleon Total War at the moment's still my favourite Total War game is just that the scope, yes, it's been scaled in back to the homely European map, but for me, all the advances made in Empire have been tweaked and refined into a game that pretty much allowed me to complete my first campaign.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I mean, with Empire Total War, I think the first reviews of it were pretty much 2 or 3 stars on Amazon and Play and everywhere because of the amount of bugs. And unlike you, I experienced no bugs whatsoever until the fatal day where I was doing a Swedish campaign. I just nearly finished it, and I loaded it up, crashed the desktop. And that was my only save.
Yeah.
And the whole save got corrupt, and all my YouTubers were like, "Oh my god."
My YouTubers similarly remember the fatal end of my my Empire Portugal campaign, and that's something else that I do get questioned quite often. It's like, oh, why do you always play as Portugal? It's like, oh, I don't know whether you get this with your voting videos. People say, oh, why have you chosen this particular faction? It's like, in the best way possible, I haven't chosen this. You guys have.
Yeah, I get that all the time.
It's like, oh, why did you choose that faction? It's not that great. I was like, actually, I didn't. You guys should have voted a bit more on that faction that you didn't like or whatever. But,
yeah.
But I mean, and some people go, oh, maybe you should just vote for what you want to do. But I'm thinking, thing is, with all of them, eventually I'll get round all the factions. I'll try them out anyway. I want to do a campaign that people want to see, or one that I haven't thought of. I mean, I'd never really thought about playing as Portugal in Empire before. I've managed to get one of the modders to help me out mod that and add some extra units in on the Total War Center site. But and for me, I think playing as Portugal opened up such a more challenging variety of the game. Starting off with the minor faction that wasn't built properly to be playable, and making it playable was a great challenge and a really fun experience.
Yeah, making minor factions playable is really hard. I mean, I played as a minor faction. I played it stupidly. I played as a really small faction, which they voted on, of course. And I had one territory. I don't even know who they are now. Switzerland. I think that was it. Yep. I just got piled and piled by Russia, and it was just horrible, horrible, horrible to play. But going back to what you said about voting, whenever I do a voting thing, there's 2 major factions that people want. And one consistent faction has been the Ottomans, but there's not been enough people voting for it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just missed it by about 5 points. So every time I do a new faction, it's, oh my god, Sage, why did you vote? Why did you not do Ottoman? I said, excuse me, I counted the votes, and Ottoman clearly didn't win.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'll try and do it next time. And every time I do it, the Ottoman fall below it just by a few points. So I'm thinking Ottoman's going to have to be the next one.
Yeah.
And incidentally, after I finish Shogun 2, I feel like going back to Empire or Napoleon, to be honest. Something about Shogun isn't adding up for me. I think the pace of the game has slowed down a bit. I don't know if that's where you feel.
I mean, there's quite a contrast because, in some respects I feel it's slowed down, yet some people sort of almost... I think there's a mod being released which slows down battles. because people were finding them going too fast paced, or they were finding it unrealistic. But I mean, I've always played Total War for the general mechanics, the game mechanics. I've never really played it for 100% realism. That's what the mods come in and do if people want it. But I have struggled playing Shogun. I'm not sure whether that's that when it did get released, I was busy with quite a lot of uni work, and I didn't get a chance to get on. I mean, maybe an hour or two in a week when it was first released, and then obviously I had to wait another 5 days, and I came home, and I've been playing it quite solidly since. But I mean, it's a superb game. The graphics look amazing, even without the DirectX 11 implemented in there, and I'm not having any issues with the lack of anti-aliasing, particularly anyway. But
do they have D11? Has it got D11 implemented?
Not yet. The patch update for DirectX 11 on Shogun 2 supposedly coming out first week of May now.
Okay.
They did originally say 2 to 4 weeks after its release they'd get it sorted, but that date.
This is CA.
Yeah, that date came and went. People obviously had massive whining fits all over forums, and I just sort of stayed back and went, "It's going to come when it's going to come." I don't know what you guys are complaining about. I mean, some of them saying this game looks terrible, and I mean, I posted up some screenshots, which I did put a little bit of photoshopping on, just sort of blurred around the edges, but the solid graphics were there, and people were going, "Wow, these are amazing." I was like, "Yeah, I can't get why people are saying this game looks terrible, because I'm pretty sure it looks awesome." I mean, yeah, these screenshots showing it. I mean, obviously, if you've got settings on low, maybe you want to check that first. But if you turn them up on high, it does look pretty good. I mean, it's not back to the days of Rome Total War where all the men had pointy feet. These guys do actually have shoes. But yeah, it's.
I don't understand how people can say that. I mean, people today they just want so much graphics out of all their games.
I mean, when I see someone on certain forums sort of comment, "Oh, I really couldn't care about the graphics, but they're awesome anyway, and I'm here for the gameplay," I sort of go, "Well done, sir. Well done.
Yeah.
You're appreciating the game for what it's for." I mean, obviously, in many of my videos, I'll have gone, I'll have lost many battles so far, zooming in, watching my troops have awesome animation fights, things like that, because it just looks awesome, and I've lost loads of battles already, because I've been focusing and looking at one guy stab someone through his stomach or something.
It's tempting. I've not done it personally, but
suddenly I look behind and my archers have all been taken out by cavalry, and then I'm absolutely screwed. My general's gone, archers... I've lost it. Yep, I'm screwed. But I've had a good time. I've looked at the graphics, but at the end of the day, yes, I'm here for the gameplay. Looking at the graphics, it's awesome. They look... and it adds to the game so much. Yes, I will agree. But you're here for the gameplay at the end of the day, and definitely Shogun 2 delivers.
Yeah, Shogun 2 definitely delivers gameplay-wise. I mean, I've noticed the graphics are they're slightly better than Napoleon, and they don't have as much drag at all. I mean, my system's 4 years old now, and I'm running that on Ultra, so I'm pleased that they haven't totally drained it out of the systems.
Yeah, I was wondering how much of a boost it's going to be, and obviously when DirectX 11 does come in, it is probably that's going to make it or break it for some people with their systems, whether they want to upgrade for this game. I know some people have held off. I mean, I bought myself a new graphics card, not necessarily because I couldn't play the game at sort of high ultra settings, which I could. It was more a combination of being able to record at higher resolutions with losing quality, and making just fraps recording far smoother. And now with that upgrade, I'm pretty set to be solid for the next couple of years at least.
Yeah, you're gonna be sorted. I've got an 8800 GT, and that's lasted me till now. So you're gonna be absolutely fine.
I've always, whenever I've come to on the channel page, I always sort of check. So, has he upgraded it yet? No, still 8800. Well, that is. Oh, that thing should get a medal for just being able
dedication.
I mean, for those that sort of, I mean, I've always preferred NVIDIA, and obviously this PC I got when it came, I didn't get any choice in it. It came with a 5770 and an ATI card, which was, I mean, the card performance-wise, ATI cards, AMD cards, whatever they're called now, they're great. It's just for me the drivers were such a
drivers. Constant complaint is the drivers.
I mean, on my laptop that's got an integrated ATI card on it, and I have to, at the moment, I've got the main drivers installed, but I haven't kind of got the ATI control panel installed, because if I do that, I lose about 20 FPS in all my games. So I'm like, that's surely a crucial element, or I start losing textures of certain things if I have the full thing installed. I'm like, sorry, how can it be separated into two different drivers? One that's meant to be the main driver, like NVIDIA's main driver, and then something else which can screw up my textures. What's going on here? But
Oh my god.
yeah, so I finally managed to go back to Nvidia with the GTX 570 in here now. But it's yeah, just good to be back on Team Green really, and something that put in straight away worked, and it got the fraps boost really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit of an AMD fanboy, so I've always liked the idea of ATI, but not the idea of their drivers. I'm
Yeah.
constantly hearing about driver problems. Like everyone I speak to, oh, how's your ATI car? By the way, I've heard they're really like buggy. And it's like, yeah, the drivers are terrible. Don't ever get an ATI. Yet they get 4-star ratings everywhere. I can't understand
Yeah.
what people are going on about, to be honest.
I mean, I think generally the ratings have to be down on the performance of the cards, which I mean are superb. They're stunning performance on all the cards, no doubt there. If they could just, personally for me, I mean, there'll be some people that equal go, I've never had a problem with any ATI drivers in my life. Well, for you, well done. You've caught the drivers when they were working and they were good. But there are considerable numbers that do have problems, and obviously that's why you've got the major two sort of factions for graphics cards.
Yeah, I probably will go Nvidia, to be honest. They're a bit slightly more expensive, but I think I'll probably stick with the safe one.
Yeah, go with what you know.
Yeah, it's always safe.
Indeed. Oh, I don't know how many topics we covered in there, or sort of went off on various.
We went everywhere, to be honest.
We've
Awesome.
been everywhere. Sort of, has the podcast audience enjoyed us going absolutely everywhere? I'm not sure, but um, even
Did you want to talk about your subject?
I can do, yes. And I've in my YouTube wanderings, as I often do, come across a rather interesting video. Now, in Shogun 2, if you look on the back of your general, you'll have these sort of balloon-shaped canopies, I guess, on the back of them. Many people just go, oh, what are those balloon things? They're called horos, and supposedly they're meant to catch arrows or stop arrows penetrating or hitting the samurai wearing the horo when they're either fleeing, or if they're bow cavalry troops running off, or they don't want to be hit by the archers. And if I'm honest, I thought there's been a mod that removes them because people didn't like the look of them, which I thought was fair enough. They do look quite big and bulky, and very random. I was sort of thinking this must be some sort of fictitious element. CA thought, oh, let's throw balloons on these guys' backs. Why not?
Yeah, that's what I thought they were. I didn't know what the hell they were.
And yeah, just sort of found this video, and I'll put probably a link in the description for you guys to check it out. It's quite interesting actually, and it shows them creating a horo, which is a silk sheet, and then sort of tied on to kind of make it like a cape, as it were, but tied at sort of all 4 points or more, so that when the rider is going forward, the air gets pushed into the silk sheet and it inflates, as it were, so it looks like the balloon. And then they tested it out by firing arrows at it, which is obviously how it would have been used. And the arrow did sort of cut through the silk, but immediately all the sort of the force of the arrow was stopped and flattened, and the arrows sort of went flying off or just stopped. And that was sort of that was the technology they were going for. It wasn't that the arrow would just bounce off and hit them, or even that they came to the argument sort of saying it doesn't actually matter if it did go far enough through to penetrate the armor that the samurai was wearing. The initial removal of sort of the force of the arrow stopped it from being able to penetrate the armor, because I mean the armor was still sort of pretty good.
Yeah, the arm would be enough to stop,
I mean,
slow down already.
They were saying that the horos, the main point of the horo was to stop the penetration impact. Yeah, maybe still hit them and might hurt a bit, get a bruise or whatever, but you're not dead, you haven't got a sort of a vicious wound in your back or something like that. And they made one, and then they tested it out with a guy, and they said they got a 70% success rate of stopping the arrow, which I think for the technology at the time is pretty darn good. If someone sort of said to me, would you like 70% improvement of not getting hit in the back with an arrow? Yes, please. I'll have
please.
I'll have a silk sheet and sort of go around with a cape on my back, balloon. So yeah, I just thought that was quite interesting to think that. I mean, maybe I would have said that maybe 10-20% of arrows would have been stopped by it in some weird fashion, but to think 70% in their test, obviously that's not a conclusive test, but to think that kind of percentage is possible with it, I mean that's substantial. And just, I mean, it's not even like they've cleverly crafted some steel shield on their back, it's just a bit of silk.
Yeah.
And to think that they had that understanding of how well, sort of how forces work sort of 500 years ago, this is superb.
Well, the Japanese were just so innovative. I mean, the things that they've invented in their times is just incredible.
Yep. My summer holidays would not have been complete without Nintendo. various other
Good old Nintendo.
games. Yes. So many a summer spent playing a Nintendo. Good times.
Indeed. Yes.
Right. Well, I think we've pretty much covered most of the topics, and probably loads more that we didn't even talk about, but we just fell into really, in a completely innocent manner. By the way, not sort of.
Yeah,
just
I think
randomly
it's all good.
Yeah, I think we've covered a lot. I think people have learnt a lot as well. Possibly more sort of random things, possibly about what my mother does on the computer. We don't want to know what she does on the computer at all, actually.
No, I can totally relate to what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, this is that would just be weird. Actually, has been a point when I've been recording either my Denmark campaign or my more recent Takeda campaign or Shogun 2, and my mum's brought me a cup of tea, and sort of she looks, I'm wearing the headset, and I sort of go, shh, sort of the microphone sort of quickly. I can't sort of stay off too long, otherwise if I'm filming a battle it looks weird, me just hovering on a unit where nothing's happening for a bit, or if everything goes quiet. So sort of just give the tea and go. Close the door, there we go, right, tea, we're good.
Yeah, that's always the dilemma you have, because do you stop the recording entirely, or do you just mute the microphone for a second? It's just really annoying when someone comes in.
Maybe that should be a feature, that the secret lives of Total War commentators' mothers. What do they do? You decide.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Okay.
or not actually, because that could be quite wrong. And yes, so thank you for tuning in to this very random podcast, but hope you've enjoyed it, and possibly maybe in the comments below give us some topics to talk about next time.
Yeah.
And if Sage has anything else to add, go Sage.
That's about it, really. We're both going to upload this video to both of our YouTube channels, and we can directly link to each other's channels. And just in the comments below, just like Lionheart said, just ask some more questions. We're not sure if we're going to include more people yet at the current stage in time. Possibly not, but we'll see what happens. So that's about it, really. We'll see you next time.
And if any of you are musically talented and want to make us a little jingle, go for it.
Indeed, go for it.
That should be subscriber challenge. And on the talk of subscribers, those of you that are my subscribers, please do go and subscribe to Sage. And if you're Sage's subscribers, subscribe to me. Yes.
Yes, Sage subscribe to Lionheart as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.